Hey everyone, welcome back to Famous Faces Group TV. I am Wendy, and a few days ago we examined the heartbreaking passing of Hayden Panettiere and the official report surrounding her final moments. But today, the story has moved into a completely different chapter. According to ABC News, a major federal agency, the DEA, is now reportedly assisting Greenville Police with the ongoing inquiry. And when an investigation expands from local authorities to specialized federal support, it tells us one important thing. Officials may be looking beyond the obvious, following a trail that requires deeper expertise, greater resources, and answers that cannot be found at the surface. Now, let us be very clear. This new development does not automatically prove wrongdoing. It does not establish Hayden's official cause of passing. And it does not mean that anyone around her has been accused of anything. Greenville Police reportedly remains in charge, while federal specialists are assisting behind the scenes. Their involvement may simply mean that investigators need help identifying certain substances, understanding where particular medications originated, or determining whether everything found at the residence can be properly accounted for. Assistance is not an accusation, but it does show that the search for answers has entered a more serious and technical phase. And this is where the story becomes deeply unsettling, not because we already know what happened, but because we still do not. Hayden's preliminary examination reportedly found no physical injuries that contributed to her passing. Authorities initially indicated that they had not identified obvious signs of suspicious circumstances. Yet, her official cause remains pending. Additional laboratory testing is still being completed, and now specialized federal resources are reportedly involved. That combination leaves us standing in a difficult space between what has been established and what investigators are still trying to understand. The public wants a simple answer, but real investigations rarely move in a straight line. Officials must carefully reconstruct a person's final hours. They may examine medical history, prescribe treatments, witness accounts, digital information, surveillance material, and laboratory findings. Every detail must be compared against the others. One inconsistency can change the direction of an inquiry, while one verified fact can eliminate an entire theory. That is why investigators cannot rely on speculation, emotion, or what happens on appears suspicious on social media. They must build a timeline that can withstand professional and legal scrutiny. Now, the presence of specialists may also be about tracing origins. If certain treatments or control products were recovered, investigators may need to establish whether they were prescribed, where they came from, and whether they were used according to medical instructions. They may be examining whether different products interacted unexpectedly or whether a particular item had been altered. But until authorities release their findings, these remain possibilities, not conclusions. We must resist the temptation to fill every silence will with a dramatic theory simply because the official answers have not yet arrived. And perhaps that is the most powerful part of the story, the silence between the known facts. A young woman with a successful career arrived in South Carolina. Shortly afterwards, emergency services were fighting to save her. Now, her loved ones are waiting while investigators examine the pieces she left behind. Somewhere between her arrival at the emergency call lies the explanation everyone is searching for. But the people investigating this case cannot afford to guess. They have to follow evidence wherever it leads, even if that evidence leads somewhere completely unexpected. We also need to understand what federal assistance does not mean. It does not automatically transform witnesses into suspects. It does not establish that another person contributed to Hayden's passing. It does not confirm that prohibited products were involved, and it does not prove that investigators are preparing charges. Now, specialized agencies frequently assist local authorities when technical knowledge, laboratory resources, or cross state information may be useful. Their role can be limited, focused, and purely supportive. So we should not treat their presence as a proof of a scandal that officials themselves have not announced. But at the same time, we cannot pretend this development is insignificant. Mind you, local investigators do not seek specialized help without a reason. Something may require clarification, something may need to be identified, traced, or professionally analyzed. The reason could be routine or it could be become important later. We simply do not know yet, and that uncertainty is exactly why this new chapter deserves attention. Not sensationalism, not accusation, but careful analysis. Now, Hayden's story is also forcing us to look again at the world she grew up in. From childhood, she was expected to remain lively, responsive, and ready for the cameras. In her memoir, she described the pressure surrounding public appearances and the expectation that she should always look energetic, happy. Imagine being taught from a young age that exhaustion must be hidden, sadness must be covered, and private pain must never interfere with the performance. You do not simply play a character on screen. Eventually, the public version of you becomes another character you are expected to perform. That pressure does something to a person. When the world rewards you for smiling through discomfort, you may stop believing that you have permission to rest. When your value appears connected to how available, cheerful, and marketable you can remain, vulnerability can begin to feel like failure. Hayden spent years responding to an industry that consistently and constantly demanding more energy, more sparkle, more access, and more of herself. Perhaps the most painful question is whether enough people ever stopped asking what she needed in return. This is not an attempt to explain her final chapter before the evidence is complete. It is an examination of the environment that surrounded much of her life. Hayden was open about emotional struggles, personal challenges, and difficult periods that unfolded behind the glamorous images. Yet, she continued working, speaking, and trying to rebuild. And that contradiction is familiar in Hollywood. The public sees success, while the person living inside that success may be carrying something entirely different. The expansion of this inquiry may eventually provide answers about Hayden's final hours, but it cannot answer every question about the years that came before them. It cannot measure the weight of being a child performer. It cannot calculate the emotional cost of constant public scrutiny. It cannot tell us how many times she smiled when she wanted to disappear from the cameras. And it cannot explain why society often waits until a famous face is gone before taking their pain seriously. There is also a responsibility on us as viewers and commentators. We must not turn incomplete information into accusations. We must not decide that somebody is guilty because of their past, their presence at a residence, or the way they appear to react during a traumatic emergency. People process shock differently. Some cry, some freeze, some become silent, and others do not react until the reality becomes undeniable. A person's expression cannot replace evidence, and emotion cannot be used as a courtroom. The responsible angle is to ask what investigators are examining without pretending we already know the answer. Why was specialist assistance requested? What information requires federal expertise and officials trying to identify the source of something recovered? Are they reviewing whether particular items cross state lines? Or is this simple a standard collaboration designed to make the inquiry more complete? Those are legitimate questions. Declaring guilt or announcing a cause before officials do will not be responsible. The laboratory findings will likely become the next major turning point. Those results may clarify whether Hayden experienced an unexpected medical event, a reaction involving prescribed treatments, or another circumstance investigators have not publicly discussed. Until that information is available, every strong claim should remain carefully qualified. The facts must lead, even when speculation is more dramatic. And my famous farm, there is something almost symbolic about this moment. Hayden spent so much of her life being examined by the public, her appearance, relationships, career choices, and private struggles. Now, after her departure, every detail is being examined again. But this time, the goal should not be, the goal should not be entertainment at her expense. The goal should be truth, accountability if evidence requires it, and dignify for a woman whose life was much greater than the unanswered questions. surrounding her final day. We should remember the actress who brought characters to life, the young performer who grew up before millions of viewers, and the woman who eventually found the courage to discuss what the cameras did not show. We should remember her honesty, her talent, the complicated humanity behind the celebrity image. Whatever investigation eventually establishes, Hayden deserves to be remembered as a complete person, not reduced to a single incident or a collection of online theories. So, yes, the reported federal involvement changes the direction of the conversation. It tells us that authorities are looking carefully, using broader resources, and refusing to close the inquiry before every relevant question has been examined. But it does not permit us to decide the ending before investigators complete their work. The story today is not that the theory has been proven. The story is that the search for verified answers has been deeper. My famous fan, do you believe this expansion means officials are simply being thorough, or do you think they have identified an important detail that has yet been made public? I want you to share your thoughts respectfully, but remember that no official cause has been announced and no witness has been publicly accused of wrongdoing. Please like this video, subscribe to Famous Faces Group TV, and turn on your notifications for the next verified development. This is Famous Faces Group TV. I'm Wendy, and here we separate facts from allegations, examine what has changed, and always look beneath the surface. Thank you for watching, and I will see you